Tell us about how you were invited and had you heard about Wacken Open Air before?
When I did hear about it from our manager, I was really thrilled because it's huge and it's great. And I'm really flattered to have been asked to come. You know?
Yes, and we're so happy to have you here. I want to go a little bit back in time and ask you about that you were inspired by the Beatles, but you sort of said, we don't want to be like their girlfriends. We want to be the fucking Beatles.
That's right. Yeah. And that's a huge difference. My sister and I were so young at that point that we didn't really identify as women yet. We were children. So to us, it was just like playing.
Okay.
And then like that kind of play just evolved into doing rock, you know. I've got to give my mother her due. She never tried to force us to be girly, you know. She just said, basically, whatever you want to do, if it makes you happy, I'm behind it, you know. So I think it was an adjustment for her that 2 out of her 3 daughters went into the entertainment thing. But she wrote it out. It was good.
How did you did you start practicing together, and how did you get like your hands on the songs, and what were the first songs that you rehearsed together? Yeah,
well, back then you have to remember there were, nothing was digitalized. It was, we're talking about the 1960s now. And so how we'd get the music would be off of the records, or we'd walk down to the local music store and buy the sheet music because I could read and everything. So we'd get the sheet music and figure out the chords, you know, and gradually put it together.
And what were the first songs that you practiced? Do you remember?
The first stuff we did was more folk-oriented. It was like Bob Dylan songs and protest songs.
Okay.
And then when we first started doing rock, it was mostly Beatles stuff. If I Fell, Yesterday, those types of classic songs. And
how did your sister know that she was more the guitar type? Did she sort of try different instruments and then sort of think, okay, this is vibing with me?
Well, it was funny because I actually got the first guitar, and then she got one and she just zipped past me. I mean, she had a natural ability for it. And she was only 8 years old, so her hands were tiny. And she just managed to, she's got this grip, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, we call, one of her hands is the clamp and the other one is called the claw.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
How lovely.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember the first time that you performed heavier music together?
Yes, I do. We were given a time slot at our parents' church on Youth Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And
in church,
in the sanctuary in front of the congregation. And so we chose, looking back, maybe not the best choice, but we chose to do the Doors song, When the Music's Over. And, you know, cancel my subscription to the resurrection and all that.
How did they react?
Well, what happened was half the congregation walked out.
Oh, really?
And the other half stayed. And forever after, the church was kind of split between, like, those who were more open-minded and with the times and those who weren't.
Okay.
And it changed the church.
That's crazy. So you had such an effect on the congregation.
Yeah, I know. It was very weird.
And how did your parents react?
They loved it. They really they patted us on the back because they were kind of, you know, progressive people, and so they liked to see us just up there doing it, you know, getting a big response. So
amazing. And do you remember the first sort of rock concert that you actually went to that left an impression on you?
The first rock show I ever went to was way back when it was, I think I was about 10, and it was Chubby Checker, Dee Dee Sharp.
Oh, wow.
You know, the mashed potatoes, and it was like one of those stacked Chitlin bills that went through. And
that must have been amazing.
Yeah, my big sister took me.
Oh, wow, okay.
With her, yeah.
And did you sort of, you know, like admire them and the performance and think, okay, I want to do that, I want to go on stage and...
Yeah, I think what I admired the most was the give and take between the audience and the band.
The energy exchange.
The energy, yeah.
You performed with heart. And what I heard in interviews was that males in the music industry wanted you to look a certain way.
Yeah.
What did that do with you? Always this pressure of having to look good and like a model.
Yeah, well, I could never really measure up to that. Like, I was being told that all the time, or given sort of backhanded compliments like, you sing so well, But anyway, I could never really measure up to everyone's expectations of being like a model. But after a short time, I sort of just went, whatever, because my drive to actually sing and play music and write music was much stronger than any transitory idea of acceptable cultural beauty,
I was listening to this interview and you were saying you had this moment where you were at the airport and you read this review and it was really personally criticizing you and you just had to go to like the restrooms and just take a breath.
Yeah, I did because I had to face myself and go, do I really care about this? Is this going to knock me off my feet for the whole day or what? And I just came to the conclusion that no, it was not going to. I mean, that's one person's opinion. Unfortunately, happens to be in the newspaper.
Asshole.
Yeah.
I hope he burns in hell.
Right. Well, if you live long enough and stay around long enough, it all comes home. During the 1980s, which was a time when Heart was at its most, its commercial peak, and doing the big MTV rock videos and millions of shows everywhere, I just got worn out with the struggle of it. I just came to the end of my ability to even care about it. Because the 1980s was so artificial. That was the whole point, is how artificial can you look, It was like theater. And it's one thing to put on a corset and fake nails and high heels and all this stuff, and for a video with stylists all around. But it's quite another to take that same look out into the heat of the summer on a stage, when it's like 100 degrees out and you're just about dying because you're so covered with stuff. And
hairspray, makeup, pounds.
So by the time the 90s rolled around, I was done with it.
Authenticity is really like a priority for you, and being this fake person, and this must have been awful for you.
That's true. That one time, about 1985 to 1990, was super hard for me because it was not about being authentic. In fact, you were told not to be authentic.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, you're an entertainer, so be an entertainer. We don't care what you are really. That was the message.
Okay.
And it's very low. Women were very low on the totem pole when it comes to their importance to society. It's important for women to step out of the old accepted roles. And if they're super talented, that's what it's going to take to put them forward. There's no magic thing that can make women suddenly be at the forefront. They have to be good. They have to earn it, They have to make their own parallel universe of music that's just as good as the ones that the boys have, I think it'd be easy to start a girls' club, but I think that what it's really about is equality. It's not about women being better or men being better. It's equal. So that's the challenge. And I know a lot of female musicians, and their default is to just hang out with other women. It's easier to stay within their own gender. But I think the real challenge is to work with both genders equally and make a little microcosm of society right inside your own band. I think it's incredibly important for women and girls to be involved on every level in the music business. Truck drivers, managers, sound engineers, roadies. I've seen little tiny girls hauling big equipment before, and they do it just as well. They drive big semi trucks just as well. So it's just a matter of stepping outside of the stereotypes. I think it's important for women to network together and get to know each other and to support each other in their quest to completely intermingle with the rest of the race. I really am against taking sides, all female, all male. I'm all for unification of the two genders.
And then you sort of decided, okay, I don't want to perform in big arenas. I want to sort of downsize it a bit.
Both my sister and I felt by the end of the 80s that we needed to blow off steam. Mm-hmm. It was an incredible pose to hold for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And so when it was over, we both just wanted to go back to Seattle and just be family people and come back to ourselves and be real and just be who we really are.
You have this fantastic band. Can you just finally tell me a bit about how you got this band together?
Yeah, I had written a bunch of songs. I think I had 6 demos, and I had always wanted to go work at Muscle Shoals Fame Studio. So I decided to go do that. And my friend Vince Gill turned me on to Tom Bukovac, who is my guitar player now, and said, this guy rules, you know. He can play anything. He's a great director for your band. So I got in touch with Tom. I asked Tom to bring musicians along to the sessions. They had great ideas for the demos, and we just worked as a team. It just fell into place. So we liked each other so much that I asked them if they wanted to come out on the road, and they did. So my husband calls them the Amazing Dogs.
Yeah.
And it stuck. So,
yeah. So that's the name of the band.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For your time. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.